My wife's affair partners exposed her infidelity, so I uncovered the truth and took everything back. I thought I had the perfect marriage. My wife and I had built a life together, shared dreams, laughter, and moments I believed were real. But the truth was far uglier than I could have ever imagined. It all started with a message from a man I did not know. His words were sharp, direct, and life-changing. "Your wife has been lying to you. She has been seeing me, and I just found out I am not the only one." My heart pounded as I reread the message, my mind racing. This had to be a mistake. But then he sent proof, texts, photos, hotel receipts. It was undeniable. I had been betrayed. But instead of breaking, I made a decision. I would not confront her, not yet. I would uncover every lie, every deception, and when the time was right, I would make sure she lost everything she had taken for granted. She thought she had fooled me. She had no idea what was coming. For years, I believed I had built a strong, loving marriage with my wife, Lisa. We met in college, where she was the kind of woman who lit up any room she walked into. She had this way of making people feel special, and I fell hard for her. Our relationship grew quickly, and before I knew it, we were married, settling into what I thought would be a lifetime of happiness. I worked hard to provide for us, taking on extra hours at work so Lisa could pursue her passions. She had dreams of starting her own business, and I supported her in every way possible, emotionally, financially, and mentally. I truly believed we were partners, equals in every sense of the word. Looking back, there were signs I missed. Lisa had always been friendly, sometimes a little too friendly, but I chalked it up to her social personality. She had many male friends, some from her past, but I never thought much of it. Trust was the foundation of our relationship, or at least, that was what I told myself. Then, small things began to change. She started guarding her phone, keeping it face down or in her pocket at all times. She stayed out later than usual, claiming she was meeting with friends or attending networking events. When I asked about these gatherings, her explanations were always vague, brushing me off as if I was paranoid. I convinced myself that I was overthinking. Lisa was my wife, my partner. She would never betray me. That illusion shattered when I received a message from a stranger. The message came out of nowhere. A man named Eric reached out to me on social media with a blunt statement. "I need to tell you something about Lisa. You deserve to know the truth." At first, I thought it was a joke or some scam, but then he sent screenshots. My stomach dropped as I read through the texts, flirty messages, plans to meet at hotels, even photos of them together. But what truly broke me was his final sentence. She told me she was single. Then I found out she is married. And I am not the only one. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My hands trembled as I reread the words, hoping I had misunderstood. But there it was, undeniable proof that Lisa had been cheating. The betrayal was overwhelming, but I knew one thing. I would not react emotionally. I needed to find out everything. If she had lied to me for this long, I would make sure she paid the price. The moment I finished reading the messages, my entire world tilted. My mind raced between anger, disbelief, and a painful sense of humiliation. Lisa had betrayed me, not just once, but repeatedly, and she had done it with multiple men. But instead of confronting her immediately, I forced myself to stay calm. If I wanted to expose the full extent of her deceit, I needed to gather undeniable proof. I responded to Eric's message cautiously, asking him how he found out about Lisa's marital status. His reply sent another wave of shock through me. "I found out through another guy she was seeing. We compared notes. That is how I got your name. There is more you need to see." Eric then added me to a private group chat. My heart pounded as I read through messages between him and two other men, Paul and Greg, who had also been involved with Lisa. Each had believed they were her only partner, only to discover she had been juggling all of them. Paul had been dating her for over a year, completely unaware of my existence. Greg had met her on a dating app, where she had claimed to be separated and looking for something new. They all had proof, text messages, photos, even videos of their time together. I stared at my phone, feeling like my entire marriage had been a carefully constructed lie. I needed more information. I started by going through Lisa's phone records. While I did not have direct access to her messages, I could see the frequency of certain numbers. One, in particular, stood out: late-night calls, long durations, and an excessive amount of contact. That number belonged to Paul. I also noticed a pattern in her bank transactions. Lisa had always been particular about money, claiming she was saving for the future. But her statements told a different story: hotel stays, expensive dinners, and unexplained cash withdrawals. The more I uncovered, the angrier I became. Not only had Lisa lied to me, but she had spent my hard-earned money on these men. The final confirmation came when I placed a small audio recorder in our home. It felt extreme, but I needed to hear it from her own mouth. I did not have to wait long. One night, Lisa was on the phone, completely unaware that her words were being recorded. "I cannot believe he still does not suspect a thing. I could do whatever I wanted and he would still believe me. That was all I needed. I was done playing the fool. The moment I had everything I needed, a strange sense of calm washed over me. I was no longer confused or searching for answers. I had them all. Lisa had not just betrayed me, she had mocked me behind my back. She had taken advantage of my trust, my love, and my financial support while entertaining multiple affairs. I was not going to confront her in a fit of rage. That would be too easy for her. No, I wanted her downfall to be slow and undeniable. I wanted her to feel every ounce of betrayal she had inflicted on me. I contacted Eric, Paul, and Greg separately. I told them my plan, to expose Lisa publicly, ensuring she could not twist the narrative to her advantage. They were all on board, each eager to see her face the consequences of her actions. The first step was ensuring that Lisa had no way to manipulate me legally. I met with a divorce lawyer, presenting all the evidence I had gathered. The financial records, the messages, and even the audio recording. The lawyer's face was unreadable as he flipped through the documentation. With this much evidence, you will have the upper hand in the divorce. You can ensure she walks away with nothing. That was exactly what I wanted. Lisa had no idea what was coming. That Friday, I acted as if everything was normal. I went to work as usual, kissed her goodbye, and even responded to her casual texts throughout the day. But that evening, I made sure she walked into a nightmare. I invited her parents and my parents over for dinner, telling them it was a surprise for Lisa. They arrived expecting something joyful. Instead, they got front row seats to her downfall. Just before Lisa returned home, I connected my laptop to the TV, displaying a slideshow of messages, bank transactions, and screenshots of her conversations with Eric, Paul, and Greg. The room was silent at first. Then, as realization sank in, gasps echoed through the space. "What is this?" Lisa's voice wavered as she looked at the screen. I did not answer. Instead, I let the evidence speak for itself. Message after message appeared, each one proving her deceit. My father shook his head in disappointment, while her mother covered her mouth in shock. Lisa turned to me, her face draining of color. "This is not what it looks like." "Do not even try," I interrupted coldly. "I know everything, Lisa. And so does everyone else now." Tears welled in her eyes, but I knew better than to believe them. She was not sorry she had cheated, she was sorry she had been caught. As Lisa stammered through weak excuses, the final part of my plan unfolded. Eric, Paul, and Greg had all agreed to message Lisa at the same time. Each one confronted her about her lies, about how she had told them they were the only one. Her phone buzzed repeatedly. She glanced down at her screen and paled. "No, this cannot be happening," she whispered. "Oh, it is happening," I said, my voice steady. "You played games with everyone, Lisa. Now, the truth is out." Lisa's parents turned to her, their expressions shifting from shock to pure disappointment. "How could you do this?" her mother asked. She had no answer. I did not need to hear her pathetic excuses. I had already moved her belongings into the guest room. The locks were being changed the next morning, and my lawyer had already filed the divorce papers. Lisa had lost everything. In the days that followed, Lisa was a shadow of the woman I had once known. She tried to call, text, and even begged for forgiveness, but I ignored every attempt. Her desperation was palpable, but I was done. There was no room left for regret, no space for reconciliation. What she had done was unforgivable, and I would not allow her to crawl back into my life, no matter how much she tried to manipulate the situation. The aftermath was far from easy, but it was necessary. Lisa's affair partners were no longer hiding behind vague apologies. They were forced to face the consequences of their actions as well. Greg, Paul, and Eric were each contacted by their respective partners or wives, who were all well aware of what had transpired. Some of them were angry, others betrayed, but all of them knew the truth. It was amazing how quickly things began to unravel for them. Greg's wife filed for divorce, and his reputation at work suffered. Paul, the man who thought he could play the hero in all of this, was left alone as well. No one believed in his fake remorse. As for Eric, well, he was cut off entirely from everyone in my life. No one wanted a man who betrayed their closest friend. The divorce process was smooth, mostly because of the clear evidence I had. The lawyer worked quickly, and within a matter of weeks, I had the upper hand in every aspect of the case. Lisa walked away with nothing. No shared assets, no alimony, and no right to my property. She attempted to fight back. She hired a new lawyer, someone she believed would have more leverage, but it was all in vain. The evidence was undeniable. Every time she tried to spin a new story, her lies were exposed in front of the judge, her reputation already tarnished. When the divorce was finalized, I felt a strange sense of closure. It was the end of one chapter of my life, and the beginning of something entirely new. I moved into a new house, one that felt like a fresh start. I redecorated, cleaned every corner, and allowed myself to enjoy the solitude. Lisa, on the other hand, was left alone in a house that once held the memories of our life together. She was forced to face the consequences of her actions. There were no more phone calls, no more begging for another chance. She realized too late how much she had taken me for granted, how much she had ruined. I heard from a mutual friend that Lisa was struggling. She was alone, without the comfort of her affair partners, and without any support. But I did not feel sorry for her. I had given her everything, and she chose to destroy it all. Now, she had to face the empty consequences of her betrayal. As for me, I began to rebuild my life. I spent time with my friends and family, people who had supported me through this ordeal. They were there for me when I needed them most, and I was grateful for their unwavering loyalty. I also focused on myself. I began taking long walks, traveling to places I had always wanted to see, and even took up a few new hobbies. I realized that life was short, and I was not going to let this experience define me. The lessons I learned were painful, but they were necessary. Trust is sacred, and once it is broken, it can never be fully repaired. I realized that I deserved someone who valued me, someone who would never betray me in the way Lisa had. In the end, I did not need revenge. Exposing the truth was enough. Lisa had destroyed everything herself. I did not have to lift a finger. I knew that moving forward, I would be stronger and wiser. I had learned to trust my instincts and had discovered my true worth. The journey was long, but I had reclaimed my life. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. If you enjoyed the story, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon to stay updated.